In vet med, we often call the workplace a family, but family means different things to different people. So maybe community is a better fit, and maybe we need that community both inside and outside the clinic. Today, we're going to talk about belonging, connection, and the courage to build community. Let's get started. Hi, I'm Addie Reinhardt.
And I'm Ginger Templeton.
We're both vets who stepped out of full-time clinical practice, but we're still deeply rooted in the profession.
And this is Out of Practice, a podcast where we talk honestly about life in and out of vet med.
This podcast is brought to you by MentorVet.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
How are we going to start? Just a creepy hello. It's going it's going well. Yeah, I just had a massage this morning. That was incredible. So I'm feeling pretty relaxed. Yes.
Nice. Do you always go to the same person?
No, I'm still like trying to find the right person, you know. You just like I had one massage in Phoenix, Arizona that was like the best massage I've ever had in my life. And then
I had the best massage of my life in Scottsdale. Which
yeah, it
makes
was.
me sound really old.
We have to compare notes after this because I would think it was in Scottsdale and it was the best massage I've ever had, and now I've like been on a search forever now.
Let's just compare notes now because here's the thing. First of all, let's just say for the audience that like when we talk about self-care, we are not talking about massages. Yeah. We're talking about like exercise, nutrition, boundaries,
sleep.
However, sleep. We should do like a whole series on sleep.
Oh man, I'm a good sleeper.
I know you are. That's why we should do a whole, because I historically was not, as anybody who's ever heard me speak knows. And then I became a really good sleeper in the last 5 years or so. But the last year, it has started to deteriorate again.
Oh no.
But massages.
Oh, we're not talking about sleep here. Okay.
Not yet.
Massages.
Next episode. Stay tuned, folks. No, massages. So this woman in a resort, it was my 48th birthday.
Okay.
It was after ACVS. And so my husband, Matt, flew over at the end of ACVS and we went down to Scottsdale for a couple of nights. And then we drove up to Sedona. So it was like just lovely, lovely, lovely weekend. But, we booked a massage and the woman, it was scheduled as myofascial release.
Okay.
I've had a lot of massages. Like I actually really believe in like a painful massage.
Yeah.
And like, don't waste my time with just being nice. But it was, I can't even, like, she was so intuitive, like finding things that were painful and trigger points and things that I had no idea. And do you talk during a massage?
Most of the time, no, I don't like talking. And it's funny because my massage therapist today, like, I'm at the age now that I can just like sleep wrong and then my left shoulder hurts for 5 days. And so she like identified it and was like really worked it. And I think she kind of like got lost because like 15 minutes later she's like, how are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm great. You're really working out in this spot that I've been having pain in. So yeah.
That's how I want them to do. Like, I don't want a script, like if there's something that you find, work on it. But I know people don't believe that I'm an introvert. I am, but I want usually to talk during a massage, like the whole time.
Oh, wow. Okay.
If the person is interesting, not like an awkward
don't
conversation.
Talk to me. I just want the massage.
I know. I think that's most people, but I want to say like for most of my life been this way for most of my life that I've been getting massages. And now I'll talk to anybody, anywhere. Oh, for those who are looking on the video, I would like to point out that I have a partially set of painted fingernails.
Yeah, some are painted, some are not. I like it.
By the end of this recording, they'll all be painted. Just wait. I'll multitask. But I like to talk. So this woman and I had the best conversation, and she's getting into all of the spots, and she was moving to Pittsburgh. And I wanted to remember her name because we talked a lot about businesses, like owning your own business. So she was going to move from Scottsdale to Pittsburgh, start her own practice. And I am such an advocate for women owning their own businesses. And I shouldn't say women, but really anybody who has like a values-based approach to their career, especially a service, based industry. I just love the idea of entrepreneurship and especially a smaller business. But I lost the note. She gave me like a little handwritten note
Oh
with her name.
no.
Completely lost it.
So if she's listening to this podcast now, just reach
If
out.
you're listening to this veterinary podcast.
info@mentorvet.net.
That's right. Oh, funny. Well, I'm glad you had a massage this morning, and I'm glad you're relaxed from that.
Yes. So what are we going to talk about today?
So I think the format of, one of us having a topic and the other coming in cold is nice because then it's just genuine. I don't want this to feel rehearsed for people. So with that in mind, the last time we recorded, and I'm not sure exactly the order that these are going to come out, so it may have been a different episode, but we talked about family. It was right before Thanksgiving. And now it's December 17th. I don't know when this will air, but I was thinking about, we talked about family, the holidays, and things like that. But I think a lot about how people in vet med say we're a family at work.
Oh, okay. Okay, we're going that way.
I want to talk about that.
Okay.
So have you had that in clinical? So out of practice, right? We are both not really fully in clinical practice, but in clinical work, have you ever had that mindset or worked with people who have that, like, we're a family mindset?
I felt it at places when it's not explicitly stated, and that's been nice. So at the second practice that I worked at full time, I was there for 3 years, and I still do relief work there a few days a month. I don't know, when I was there, I think it was because a lot of the team was there a long time, so there was good retention for the team. And I think just like being around these people every day, and it's kind of funny because like also with the family, we don't get to really choose the people that are in our family. It's just kind of the people that are in our family. And then same with the workplace, like unless you're the boss, like if you're an associate or if you're a vet tech or an assistant CSR, like you come to work with these people that you didn't really choose to be with. And so it's kind of a similar in that way. But I think at this vet clinic particularly, there was definitely a lot of camaraderie, a lot of caring about each other, like not just in our work lives, but outside of work. And so there was often a lot of talk about how are things going with your son, or, what's going on in so-and-so's life. And I think it was definitely created from a top-down approach because, the owner of the practice and his wife, who is kind of the practice manager, definitely cared about the people in the clinic and would also ask those questions and remember things about your family or your friends or what you're up to. And so I think that's where it kind of created this feeling of like, I know the people that I'm going to work with. And so it kind of feels like, in a way, like my family away from home. So
now, have you had that sense? Because that feels like a really positive. And I know I hear people talk about not wanting to be told it's a family, like the negative side of the expectation that work is kind of a family. And I want to get into that. But first, I want to know if you felt that sense.
Oh, of like it as a negative? Was that the question?
No. Sorry. We'll come back to that. That was a really convoluted question.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
First, have you worked in any other environments where you felt that kind of close family feel?
Gosh, well, I think I've only been at 2 practices full time and then a lot of relief work. So I say that would be like the only practice that I felt it, mainly because that was the only one that I was at for more than like a year. So I think the other places first job I was only at a year, and then all the other relief shifts I've only worked, 5 to 10 shifts at. So I don't think I've had time to really build that kind of trust with those people yet, I guess.
And are you familiar with this kind of like concept of people not wanting to think of not being told we're a family, not hearing that from management?
Yeah.
Have you heard this?
I've heard like the kind of flip side of like, oh yeah, we're a family, and it's a little kind of weird because it's like you're being told this is your family, and I don't know. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I mean, I think this is probably not going to surprise you, but I do want to be soft around it. I want to respect people who feel maybe triggered by that, either because they are feeling like they're being told how to feel, or maybe they have a negative connotation with family.
Yeah, it's true.
And on the flip side, I think I've heard a lot of these things in the context of a social media environment and kind of meme culture. And sometimes I think we make more of things than we really need to. Like maybe outside of a really negative environment, a truly negative environment, we could just assume positive intent. And if somebody says we're like a family here, maybe not read too much into that.
Okay. Yeah.
But I think as, it's always the leader side and how do you try to present and communicate to a diverse team versus the individual on the receiving end side, right? So like if I'm on the receiving end of it, I might be a little annoyed, like this doesn't feel like family to me. Like I want to get home to my actual chosen family. And I say chosen family, like I guess I gave birth to my kids and I didn't really get to pick them, but it feels like I chose them. And I chose my husband. But on the flip side, again, positive intent. I think when I'm on the receiving end of that, if I just say they mean well, they mean they care about us.
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's probably the way I should think about it. And if I went back in time to times where I was hearing that, which wasn't very often, hopefully I was able to do that. But as a leader, I think about this in my own work, right? When I'm hiring. So, I have this role where we're a pretty rapidly growing company. I'm involved with doctor recruiting, even though it's not as much of a part of my role now as it was. I still am usually in some interview, especially when we're hiring a specialist on the moves side of my business. And I do hear that phrase sometimes either from them, this feels like a family, or they'll even say like, I'm excited to be part of the Moose family when they send an email, which I always find really like sweet and endearing.
Oh, okay.
But I don't want to, I'm hesitant. I usually don't use that language unless they've used it first, even though I do feel like our culture is very warm and friendly and almost like a chosen family. I mean, I think most of the people that I work with, I would choose them as a family.
That's nice.
Or as like a close friendship. So
I
don't know.
Yeah, I think I guess and from my leadership perspective, I've never used that term in my work at MentorVet. And I don't know if that was intentional or just kind of not the feel of what we were going for. But I mean, the terms I always use are community, like welcome to our community.
That's good.
It feels like very inclusive, and hopefully doesn't feel like anybody, because like you said, a lot of people might have some trauma around like family, and I think being able to use language that is inclusive, but also, I think you're kind of right if they're using that language, like I don't think you should correct it or anything, right? But I think it's probably more about how we as leaders are creating that environment. Like if you want it to feel like a not dysfunctional family, then, creating that environment where people can show up like themselves, and creating that environment where it feels welcoming and friendly. And you don't have to, I think, come out and say like, this is the family, welcome to the family. I think it can be done in actions versus, specifically coming out and saying it.
Well, I think that's the heart of it all, right? It really doesn't matter what we say. That's not true. We can say things that are hurtful. We can say things that are harmful.
I can say whatever
for sure. Note to listeners, we do not recommend that approach. But really, it's what we live, and what, even more than that, what people feel. That phrase "perception is reality." I can say all the things, I can even do everything quote unquote right, but if people don't feel that inclusion and that sense of community, which I love that. I really appreciate you calling that out. And I think that community for me, when I think about extended family, when I think about all the complexities that we kind of hinted at a little bit around our Thanksgiving discussion, community really is something that we can choose and we can be so intentional about. And I don't necessarily hear that term used as like, I think from you, I hear it, probably because of your education and your focus. And I don't know, is that
it just
fair?
kind of, I don't even know how MentorVet community came to be. I think the more I would communicate with the people in MentorVet, whether it be the mentors or the participants, it was just kind of a term that naturally emerged as part of our communication, because I was suddenly, faced with like, okay, I'm addressing all of these individuals as a whole. What do I call, the MentorVet, the people in MentorVet? I'm like, oh, the MentorVet community. Like, that makes sense. And so even in the newsletters, you'll see, hey, MentorVet community. And it's just, I think it helps us also as a team say, okay, well, who is in our community and how do we, and that's kind of actually not like a shameless plug at all, but we just had our kind of strategic planning for this next year for 2026 for MentorVet. And one of the things that we wanted to really focus on, because we've been focused on growth and new programs for a while, and one of the things that we wanted to focus on was how to create more engagement and belonging with our community, and not just the people going through our programs, but the people who are mentors and team members
Yeah.
and our partners and the people who might be coming into our community. So feeling, focusing on, engagement and belonging for those groups as well.
Belonging's tough. I
Yeah,
think
belonging
that,
stuff. Yeah.
you think about it in a clinical setting, and I think about HR, and, you always hear about employee engagement, and sense of, connection and community. And then you see these well-intentioned activities. And activities are great, but they're not going to create that sense of community and belonging on their own. And culture has to exist and has to be front of mind to get that community. But it's tough. It's tough to create it if you feel like that it's not already there. You're trying to build it from somewhere where it's not. And I think hospitals do this all the time. I hear this in a lot of the message boards where moms, who own veterinary clinics may be messaging, or medical directors, like female leadership. I'm in various groups, and there's sometimes we did this event, or we offered this program, or what have you, and there's a sense of people not participating. And I think it's complicated what drives somebody to want to really buy into and be part of a community, even, again, if you're doing all the things right.
Yeah.
We're
It's
still
funny.
individuals.
I think I had a mentee one time that was trying to build kind of community in her clinic, and they were trying kind of a lot of top-down approaches of like planning this event of, like, hey, come show up outside of work. I mean, that's kind of when we think about trying to make people feel like they belong, like bring your families, or, be present, show up, and to get to know you outside of work. But then for some people, it feels like, oh, you just want me to be here more. I'm working more hours, and like, this is a work thing. I don't want to be here any more than I'm scheduled. So I think that mentee, it was really kind of clever. She and her practice manager, instead of planning something, they actually asked the team. They were like, hey, what's something that you all want to do around this time of year? And it was so random. Like, the team was like, well, let's do a pumpkin carving contest. And everybody like carved their pumpkin. There was a prize for the best pumpkin. Everybody came in, they had a little party. And so I think because it was like planned by the team and engaged them as humans, it like made it more likely for them to engage in the activity. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Okay, love this example. And I have to say, as I listen to it, I think about my current role, as a COO of a company of about 150 people, and trying to do all the things. But I also really, really think about the executives and other leaders that I've coached over the years, and exactly this piece of trying to top down, not only build community, I mean, beyond even that, just feeling the need to design and be involved in everything. And the secret sauce to preventing burnout in leaders is letting people contribute. Delegating sounds a little bit like negative, like you're passing the buck. But if you're doing it well, you're letting people design their role, contribute to their role, get more fulfillment for their role. and giving up the need to be doing everything. So something like this seems really simple, right? Like, oh, we just let the team pick. But do you know how much more work that would have been for the leadership of that
Oh
hospital
man. A
if
lot.
they had had to do it? And then maybe 2 people show up. That's
Yeah.
demoralizing.
Yeah.
So everything about that is just kind of leadership. I don't know. I don't even want to say 101. It's like secret
Yeah.
sauce to
Yeah.
leadership.
Yeah.
I love it. I didn't expect to be talking about building community with this family discussion, but I think this is key. I also want to say when I was early pre veterinary career, so I took time between undergrad. I was not interested in becoming a veterinarian. I was planning to be a professor. I was working on a PhD in molecular microbiology, and I moved to Madison, Wisconsin. So I moved from the South, where I had grown up my entire life in the Southeast. And suddenly I'm in this like hippie college town, but capital city. So just really fabulous, fabulous place. I love Madison. And it's the first time I remember hearing people, and this was in the very early 2000s, like late 1990s, early 2000s, hearing people use the word community in the way that you are. And at first it struck me like I didn't necessarily think about community. I think family, and for my personal upbringing, church had been very emphasized, but not community more broadly as something that you could be intentional about and get such value from. And now it's kind of all I want. So I'm at this point in my life now, and you and I've maybe talked a little bit about this, but I want to move back to Wisconsin or somewhere other than where I currently live. And really 90% of it comes down to community.
I love it. I mean, well, my master's is in community and leadership
know.
development.
I
So this is
know.
like, I'm like, how did this topic end up here? I'm like, oh, okay, I know how it ended up here. But I've also been craving that more. I wonder if a lot of people have, with just like the more and more we've become, you know, in this digital world where we're on social media and everybody's on their phones, and we seem to get more and more separated, especially divided, as in this country. We seem ever so much divided on so many things that I think I've also really been craving finding community and connection. And I think some people can find it in work, and that's amazing. And finding that quote work family, if that's what you call it. And then also, for me, it's been really important to find communities outside of that as well. And it's sometimes not like a physical place, and sometimes more of like a micro community. Like, I came back from this music camp 2 years ago, and I was like, really loved the community that was created by this camp. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I want to find that in Lexington, where I lived. And I was like, I
Yeah.
really want that same music community. I did a little bit of Google searching, and I found this like old time jam that was every Monday night at this brewery. And I was like, huh, like I could go to that, and just check it out. And I did. And now I've got this little community and almost like a family. They call it a jamly, which is really cute. It's like a jam family.